Hey everyone. Welcome to the PyLadies Panel at PyCascades 2024. Can you take this? Where we are honored to present a diverse group of remarkable women from the tech community. Through this panel, we aim to highlight the expertise and experience of these women, fostering inclusivity and diversity within our conference. Each panelist brings a unique perspective and health of knowledge, making this discussion an invaluable opportunity for learning and inspiration. Let's thank you, all panelists, for joining us in celebrate the voices and achievement of these extraordinary women. Let's give us an applause. And join the panel.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you all for being here with us today, and thank you for the opportunity for me to be here as a moderator with these amazing folks in the Python community. So my name is Luciana. I am a senior product manager at Microsoft. It's funny that I have to read who I am because I'm nervous, but I work on improving the Python development experiences for Visual Studio Code. And I'm honored to be here with these amazing folks that I'll be introducing now. So we have Mariatta, who is a Python core developer and the chair of PyCon US 2023 and 2024. And for her contributions to Python and the open source community, she received the PSF Community Service Award and is a PSF fellow member. And you might know her from the hashtags ice cream selfie and typo of the day. We're also honored to have Lynn here today, who is the chair of the PyLadies Global Council, a member of the Python Software Foundation, and a staff engineer at Spotify. And we also have with us Christy Heaton, who is a geospatial developer with over 10 years of experience working in the public and private sectors and education. As an organizer of MapTime Seattle and PyLadies Seattle, she promotes public open source adoption of spatial analysis in Python. So thank you so much for the three of you for being here today. I'm going to start with a few questions, and I would love to hear the answers from the three of you. My first question is, could you share a bit about your background and how you became involved in the Python community? I'll give it to you first.
Okay, hi, my name is Mariatta, and I've been in tech community for more than 20 years. So I actually have computer science degree from University of Saskatchewan, who I just found out today there's someone with the same university during lunch, so that's kind of cool. But yeah, I've been doing Python probably only since 2008, 2009, and starting in 2015, that's when I actually got financial aid to attend PyCon US from PyLadies, and that's like once I attended the conference, I realized that there is a community, there's a Python community, and it made me realize that I could actually be a part of it, and I haven't stopped since. Like, it's just having been to a conference, a Python conference, and seeing people outside of my just small circle of Python coworkers. It's really been useful and helpful to me, and that's why I'm continuing doing that. So that's how I got started. I'll give it to you, Lynn.
Okay, cool, nice. Yeah, I'm Lynn. That's me right there. Yeah, so let's see here. I started in tech a long time ago, not as long as you, maybe like 12 years ago, 13. I actually graduated with a degree in like finance and econ, and started in banking for a couple of years, and then wanted to go to get some sort of graduate degree, and had to learn like C programming language to get into like a financial engineering program. C is really hard. But then I got exposed to Python from some hack day, and I basically said F finance, and started to teach myself, like specifically Python, and then found other people to teach or to learn with me, which grew into PyLadies of San Francisco, which I think grew into like one of the biggest PyLadies chapters in the world. Yeah, and this is actually, you know, how I started to get my job. Yeah, I guess that's my story.
Hi, I'm Christy. So my background is in Geographic Information Systems, GIS, and I learned about Python because the most popular GIS softwares have a Python API built in, and so that's how I kind of learned about Python. And as I was doing GIS, I really liked the Python stuff most of all, and so really leaned into that. And when I moved to Seattle, you know, I probably found PyLadies on meetup.com and joined, went regularly, and it was such an awesome community. I started organizing events too, and yeah, became an organizer. But like, I feel like I'm involved in other communities as well, so I feel like I'm just a community person. Like, I really love being a part of a community and having friends that are kind of in a similar boat as me. Like, you get so much from a community, like new friends, speaking opportunities, leadership opportunities, mentoring opportunities. So I really think I'm just a community person.
So Mariatta, I have a question for you specifically. So as a Python core developer and a conference chair of PyCon US, what challenges have you faced in promoting inclusivity within the Python community, and how have you worked to overcome them?
Okay, maybe I should explain a little bit more on how I got more involved in the core Python world. Is that at PyCon US 2015, that's when I first even hear about this concept of Python core developer. At that conference, I went to, I listened to Guido van Rossum's keynote, and he mentioned something about, you know, Python is open source community. Yes, we all know that. It's a long time. It's been there for 20 years, but at the same time, there was no women as a Python core developer yet in 2015. And that just started to make me think, like, at that time, I know there are women in this community. Like, there are a lot of women able to do this. How come they are not there? So that just made me realize that it's not just about ability of, you know, people of women in doing tech stuff, but there are other barriers that we don't know yet. Opportunities are not there, or maybe they were not given to us. We were not being told that this is something we could do. Or maybe there's just no role model, right? Just today I was talking to Scott, who reminded me, and which is something I fully relate. If you don't know it, if you never seen it, you do not recognize you can become it, that it is a possibility pathway for you. Now, this is still a problem within Python community. I think, like, if somebody asks you, tell me 10 names in Python, 10 people in Python I should follow on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on who are the 10 Python open source maintainers, just in your head, at what number you hear a name of a woman. This is still true now. And the truth is, I still don't know how to help fix. I know some of the barriers faced. Like, maybe we don't have the time to do it. Maybe we are still busy raising our kids. I know for me, I felt that challenge that as a mother, I have to take time off for my family. I took 2 years off when my kids were born, and we were not being given the same opportunities to advance at work. So we have to prioritize family, we have to prioritize advancing in our work before we can have time to contribute to Python and open source community. So it's still a problem now. And if you look at recent Python core developers list, it has been 13 people, 13 other men being promoted as Python since the last time we promoted a woman into becoming a Python core developer. And I think we all recognize there is still issue here. I don't know what we can do. What I know what I can do is that I cannot promote women. I do not have the time. I do not have the ability to give them promotion so that they can have free time, right? Maybe that's something companies can do. But what I can do, if there are people who are interested, I can at least get them started. But the willingness has to come from other people, and all I can do is just showing that this is a thing we can do. You know, like I try to really share how being involved in Python has helped my career, how I have, advanced throughout by being involved. I can become an example if people want to see it that way. That's what I can do, right? But it's still a challenge, and I hope, I'm also, one other thing I want to share is that I'm starting a podcast series with a few friends called PyPodcasts, Hidden Figures of Python. And in this podcast series, we're recognizing that there are actually women in the community who are doing really amazing, interesting things. And maybe they didn't share their stories, or nobody's sharing their stories. This is what we are trying to do, using our power to share other people's stories who deserve to be heard and to be known. So.
No, thank you. That was great. And you're already helping a lot. And yes, please, thank you. And I was going to say that you're already helping a lot, and the two of you as well. So just by being role models for all of us. So we really, really appreciate all that you all do. Apart from all the contributions that you do, also being a model is really important, which is really appreciated. My question is now for Lynn. So with your leadership roles in PyLadies Global Council, how do you see the role of community organizations in supporting and empowering women in technology?
It's a good question. Side note, I have a memory of a fruit fly, so I have my phone here for notes, so I don't mean to be rude. But yeah, the role of PyLadies and other organizations for empowering women, I mean, it's literally just for that, right? For empowering women to help elevate us to share experiences and stories and basically create spaces for us. I think, I guess superficially, still valuable, but superficially, this is a networking group, right? And so we can, pull each other up, we can, hire each other and connect each other. I got my past 2 jobs from PyLadies Connections, and I hope to hire PyLadies into roles that work with me. But then, I guess not talked about that often is the actual kind of feeling that you get when you are in a room with other PyLadies. When I started the PyLadies of San Francisco, I was just learning how to code, and I was fumbling through it and, getting others to learn with me. So I would hear people saying, this is a much more welcoming environment, that in other environments that folks have experienced, it's I have the knowledge and you don't, and so there's some sort of power imbalance. But when I tried to, when I organized the PyLadies of San Francisco, I tried to create an environment of we're all in this together, because it can be very, I guess, anxiety-inducing and nerve-wracking to be in a space that you don't see someone like yourself, that it just can be intimidating. Sometimes you work with other people that have been doing this for decades, or maybe you're in CS 101 and there's kids next to you that have been programming for a while for games or something, but you just never got exposed to that or were never interested in that, and so you already feel like you're kind of behind. So I think having this space of like, well, not all of us know everything, but I can help you where I have some knowledge, or you can teach me about like things that I don't know. So it's very, I guess, equal, calm, and just a great space, I guess. So I think that's what we can do, and it's not talked about that much. Yeah.
Thank you. Christy, as a co-organizer of PyLadies Seattle and MapTime Seattle, could you tell us about your experiences fostering community engagement and promoting diversity within the tech industry?
Yeah. So you mentioned MapTime Seattle. It's a group for open source mapping enthusiasts in Seattle. And then PyLadies Seattle is a group here as well. So I did a few things to try to foster diversity and a sense of inclusion. One thing was in all of the event invites I would write, I would really push you can be a beginner, you don't have to have a lot of experience to come here. We're not a tight-knit group of experts. We're an open group of a variety of people, and we're all just here to learn. So kind of I hope that kind of messaging in the invites would bring people in. And then at the actual event, keep that vibe going. Have someone go to new people who just arrived, and if that was me, I would I would introduce myself. I'd say welcome to the group. I'd try to learn a little about them so that I could hopefully introduce them to someone else that they had a common interest with, and I could kind of just continue with my networking in the group. And another thing is code of conduct. So, and in the groups I've organized, I don't know, when I've organized groups that already existed, so I would inherit kind of. I would, find the need to take a close look at that code of conduct, and because a lot of them get copied a lot, hundreds of times along the way, but think about what do I want for this group, because it might not be exactly what this kind of male-centered group had that we copied it from initially. So we're it's okay to copy one and credit your whoever had it before, but take some time to really think about the rules you want to have in your group, and then enforce the code of conduct, because people do the darndest things, and sometimes you need to take action. So it's worth it to create that inclusivity.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, I feel like code of conduct is one of those things that if you don't adjust proactively, you find out the hard way that you should have done that. So, Mariatta, you've been involved in various projects and initiatives within the Python community. Could you share some of the highlights of your journey as a Python core developer?
Sure. I have two things that came to mind, and one is the GitHub bots that I wrote for CPython. This is called Miss Islington. So what it does is automatically backport changes, so that we used to do this manually by hand, but I wrote a bot so that you just have to apply a label, it would automatically create pull requests to CPython project, and in the end it could also merge it. So if you look at the list of contributors to CPython, you will see this bot as having the most active contribution, although it's all it's just doing a git cherry picker. For me it's really personally satisfying, because knowing that this really helps the workflow of core Python developers. But also, just about 6 months before I deployed this bot, I actually was in a job interview, and this job interview was it's a take-home interview. And at that time, the task is write us a Slack bot, and I couldn't do it. I didn't get the job. I couldn't do it. So I felt, at least, I learned from this experience. Now, not only I learned how to write a bot, I become the go-to person for an important project. So that one felt really cool to me personally. The other thing that I also wanted to share, other than coding and everything, and I think this affects a small group of people. I was the chair for Python Language Summit at PyCon US for a few years. When I took over, like before I became involved, I heard that at PyCon US 2015, the Language Summit was a room of 50 men. It was super exclusive. You need to first be a core developer to attend that, and you have to be invited, like you have to be a friend of a Python core developer. And when I was given this opportunity to chair this event, that's one of the things that I made it my personal passion, that it has to be inclusive. Yes, it can be something that is, a limited group. You need to be a relevant person to be in this group. That's right. But we can also share to people opportunities to participate, like making it more open and welcome, saying that anyone who's interested, who has something to say to the Python core developer, you can apply to attend this. So starting then, it's never been a room of 50 men anymore. This practice continues till today. Like, if you are interested, you can apply, and if there is room, they will let you in. But I think when I was the chair, we never end up turning anybody. Like, anybody who applied for it, they got it. So that's something I felt personally proud, because that also was one of the things that got me into the core Python development, knowing that there was a room of 50 men. And I know there's a lot of women in the world who are interested and have the ability to contribute. So that's something that I personally feel proud about.
Lynn, as a staff engineer at Spotify and an adjunct professor at Columbia University, how do you balance your professional responsibilities with your advocacy work for diversity and inclusion in tech?
I don't.
You do.
No, it's a hard question, and it's hard to find the mental energy to balance everything. I find that I do things in batches. As evidence of it, this weekend I just made 2 releases of a package that I maintain, and it's been like a year since my last release. So I do things in batches, and so I find myself we have a monthly global council meeting, and it's usually that morning where I do half a day's work in that morning, and so it's once a month I just have to set aside time to get stuff done. If it doesn't take 5 minutes, then I can't do it right then. I have to wait until the next batch. But yeah, I don't really have any gold nugget advice kind of thing. It's a lot of my time allotment is fueled by guilt, I guess. It's oh crap, I got to get this done kind of thing. Yeah, that's it.
But it's really hard, and I think doing batches is actually a really great advice. I actually struggle a lot with time management, and this is a very great approach. So thank you for sharing. Christy, transitioning from a GIS analyst to Python developer must have presented its own set of challenges. Can you share some insights into how you navigated this transition and any obstacles you encountered along the way?
As someone who does GIS but also loves Python, it was definitely a goal of mine to become a Python developer primarily. So I kind of did that through really leaning into the communities I was a part of. For one thing, PyLadies Seattle and MapTime Seattle, you just learn a lot by going to the events. You see what other people are doing, and as someone who's got a different background than Python, there's so many things that Python people know that you don't know, unit testing and async, and just all that other stuff. So going to conferences and going to events and just hearing all those talks really broadened my perspective. And then also I just leaned into giving talks myself. And so what I would do is I would kind of like get my message is like making maps with Python. And I'm going to, any chance I get, I'm going to talk about making maps with Python at like mapping events. And I would like give it like from a mapping perspective, teaching them about Python. And then I would do the same thing at Python events. Like, okay, now we're a Python audience. I'm going to show you how to, all about GIS. And so that really helped me like get out there. Giving talks is a great way to network because like you basically, everyone knows you, right? Because you're up front. And so, yeah, that's how I got my current position was like someone had seen me talk and knew about an open position and yeah, it was a good fit. So, yeah, it was a lot of, a lot of work, but.
And speaking of giving talks, do you have any tips for anyone who wants to submit a talk for a conference like PyCascades next time? I told them I wouldn't improvise questions, but sorry, I had to improvise this one.
That's a good question. Okay, I don't know. This is like I have not been on like a talk panel. Like I've never been the one that approves talks, so I don't know if I'm the best one to give this advice. But I would say. You don't have to be an expert on the subject. It can just be something that you like and are interested in. It doesn't have to be something you invented. I mean, yeah, I don't think I'd be where I was today if I had those thoughts. Like I was just like, this is interesting to me, so I'm going to talk about it. Your idea is probably good.
Thank you. That's great. Mariatta. As a woman in a male-dominated field like technology, have you faced any particular challenges or biases, and how did you address them?
I don't know if I have addressed them. Like I feel like it's still, sometimes I feel like it's still happening. But maybe I'll backtrack a little bit. I feel like earlier in my career, people just underestimate me. Like I felt like they wouldn't give me important tasks. They weren't giving me the job that would earn me a promotion. Like by default, seems like they're gonna send somebody else to the conference. The guys in the team, they didn't even tell me opportunities about advancements. Somehow other people were being sent for learning new things, and I was not, and I didn't know why. And that happens less after I became a Python core developer. And I feel like this is actually a bad example to give because I notice how people treat me at events like this before and after. Things, maybe they don't do it in front of me anymore, like not under my watch or whatever. But I've been to PyCon, I've been to conferences before a Python core developer. The interactions were totally different. I would get more sexist or racist comments, but after it's not anymore. And I felt like I shouldn't have to work so hard in order to be treated well. And thank you. And yeah, I don't know how I overcome it. And I don't want to tell people you have to become famous in order to be taken seriously. That's not the right solution. So I still don't know how to overcome it. At least I know I totally recognize a privilege of having a certain title, and I don't take it for granted, but I feel like there got to be a better way.
Thank you for sharing that, and I'm very sorry for everything. It's a tough world. So my next question is for Lynn. What are your hopes for the future of diversity and inclusion within the Python community? And what steps do you think are necessary to achieve those goals?
Yeah, good question. So I guess we're never going to have like a point where we're going to be done with diversity. We're never going to have like a fundraising goal and be like, all right, good, let's pack up, let's go home. It's always going to be something that we have to, perpetually have it in the conversation to keep in the back of our mind. PyLadies should always exist, in my opinion. And so, like, as society evolves, we're going to have to evolve with it. So I guess in this kind of context, I'm more thinking about, like, the longevity and the sustainability of PyLadies and how we can kind of keep it going. I love that PyLadies is mostly grassroots and it's very decentralized. Organizers can run their chapters the way that they wish. And like if someone needs to step back, and they should, if they need that time. There's no pressure, and if someone can step up to take over, wonderful. I guess like community organization, community like involvement, like you can get burnt out by it, and so like that's what I'm most concerned about with our PyLadies organizers. I mean, was it back in 2017, you and Lorena Meza, who is from Chicago, both like kind of basically sat me down and said, all right, teach me everything that you do so that you can take a break and we can take over. And I didn't realize it, but I was so burnt out from just the community involvement. And it was exactly what I needed. I took a few years just to kind of be on the sidelines, and I'm very appreciative of that. And now I was able to come back a few years later, refreshed and re-energized. And this is what I would hope for other organizers as well, that you can take the time and that you should trust other PyLadies to step up and to take over for when you need them. So yeah, I guess sustainability, longevity, taking breaks, that's what's going to help PyLadies kind of keep going in the future. So that's what I've been thinking about. Yeah.
So you also mentioned in one of the first questions that you kind of find yourself driven by guilt. How did you cope with that and like being in a burnout? I guess it's hard for you to accept that you're burning out when you're so like driven by guilt, right? Like how was that for you? Oh. Sorry, another improvisation.
No, it was super hard, but like it challenged me in a good way to be able to like let go, to be able to trust, because like the fact that like you two kind of like sat me down and just like, I don't know, the way that you treated the situation made me like relax to trust that it's going to live on. Like PyLadies is a strong organization, and it's just not going to fall apart from like one person. And yeah, of course, maybe like I had the one commitment to like merge stuff, but now that's no longer the case. So yeah, it's still a learning process for me, but it's actually quite rewarding to also see people step up and step into this kind of leadership role in various degrees, and to like kind of take stuff off other people's plates, mine included. So yeah, there's a bit of guilt, there's a bit of maybe white knuckling a little bit, but then there's also a lot of pride when I kind of let go. So yeah.
Thank you. Christy, how do you envision the role of Python communities evolving in the coming years, particularly in terms of promoting diversity and inclusion?
Yeah, great question. I had to think about that a lot. So, like, I'm someone who works remotely, and I like working remotely. I like attending remote events, but there's nothing like this. So I hope that, I don't know, I guess I feel like it's hard because I think if you have remote events, that can be more inclusive because you can bring in people from anywhere and you don't even have to leave your home, and I really like that, even though I can leave. But like, yeah, there's something about that in-person connection that you just, this conference has made me realize, like, the connections and reconnections I've had this weekend. yeah, I definitely would not have had that in a remote conference. So I hope that, I guess that like there's still both types of events in the Python community. So yeah.
Very hybrid, right? Like, I agree. The next question is actually for the three of you. So what advice would each of you give to aspiring women in technology for overcoming obstacles and achieving success in the field?
I would say find a community. Like you're really not alone, even if you think that I'm strong, I can do this by myself. Having a community can really help you, and it's definitely true for me. Like after I found the Python community, the PyLadies community, I feel like I can grow much faster, and I am being shown opportunities that I could do. And I have a lot of community members. It's really like the Python and PyLadies community who really showed me that here are the different things you didn't know about, and I'm learning, and I really appreciate all of that, and that's what I think. If this particular community is not for you, I'm sure you will find so many different communities. You might just have to try, go in, and be a part of it first until you found the one that works for you, you know. But definitely find a community. That's my bottom line. Thank you.
Yeah, I have, this is like a yes and, because I totally agree with that. I give two pieces of advice to like my students learning how to code, to anyone just starting, but then I also have to remind myself of this advice because it's also not just for new folks. So two pieces of advice. One is it's okay to cry. Like when you're super stressed out, like I don't know, anxious and just maybe pissed off or something, like crying really does help. It's just like a scientific fact where like the tears that come from crying have like a concentration of like stress hormone. And so it's like one of the quickest ways to release stress. Or you could like drink some wine or something, I don't know. But yeah, like if you feel like you need to cry, cry. And it's like, I don't know, I always find it super helpful. And for me, I always find that like after crying, then I have like a huge breakthrough or something like that. Like my test passed suddenly, I don't know. And then my second piece of advice to go off of that is to like have perseverance, to always come back. Like, you know, take the time that you need, you know, an hour, a day, a week, maybe longer, but then come back. 'Cause like, I know it's hard to learn to code, or people can be challenging to deal with. Like there's lots of crap to deal with in this kind of world. And so, but you don't have to learn how to persevere. You just have to do it. It's certainly a muscle, so it takes some practice. But so long as you come back to the situation, you will always progress in a way. And I don't mean to like persevere through like shitty work situations where you're passed over for like promotions or cool projects or something like that, or you know, just stop learning to code, but like in doing something else. But I'm talking about perseverance of like, you know, find a different job, or like, you know, keep practicing those leak code problems, even if it looks like brain surgery or something to you. Like, is the important part is just coming back, is building that muscle, because that's what helps with progress. So, yeah.
Yeah, I would suggest doing scary things. Like, I don't know, whatever stretches you, and that is scary, but like that could be attending your first community event. It could be becoming an organizer. It could be giving a talk. It could be applying for a job that sounds cool, but you don't meet 100% of the qualifications. Like, I think you have to really stretch yourself to grow, and it is really scary, but that would be my advice.
It's scary, but it's worth it. Thank you. And then finally, another question for the three of you. What actions can individuals and organizations take to create more inclusive and supportive environments for women and underrepresented groups in technology?
I would say really, sometimes when people say, how do we make our company or our team more inclusive. Like they were thinking about how do we hire more women or more, different kind of groups. But sometimes it's maybe you need to fix your internal culture. Like maybe your existing whatever system already favors a certain group and not the women. So yes, you need to open up opportunities, open up the door, inviting more women into joining your community, your team. But you should also recognize the biases that you have and just at least recognize that this is a problem. No, it's not solved yet. And no, it's not because if by hiring diversely you will suddenly have 10x profit or whatever. No, it's not about profit. It's about what is right. So I think just start from the inside, understand what are barriers that you're putting, and address those. Those are what I can think of.
Yeah, I guess my thoughts are, I guess kind of on the more preservation side of PyLadies is for organizers, we have to continue PyLadies, so, and the good word of PyLadies. So I want folks to be able to sustain their chapters. So ask for help. Feel free to ask for help. And this goes to conference organizers and any other sort of community organizers. And it's, learning from my own experience, it's good to ask for help even if you don't think you need it, because then you can prime people to then take over when you actually do need it. And then from the other side, from an individual perspective, I get a lot of people coming up to me asking how can I get involved? I really want to help out this my local PyLadies, and I'm just ask, just go up and ask if you can help, or if you can just lead this one event or something like that, because no one's gonna. Yes, I did say organizers should ask for help, but sometimes you're not going to get that invitation, even at work. No one's going to be we need women to do this project. How about you do it? You should just walk in the door yourself and kind of invite yourself, offer yourself. So, yeah, I guess be gutsy in that way too.
I guess I'll answer this kind of for professional teams. And I would kind of echo the things I was doing when I was organizing. The same could apply to a team that's looking to make their team more diverse. When I was talking about making the invitation sound inviting, you can also make a job posting sound more inviting to a wider audience. There are ways you can do that. But once you have a more diverse team, you actually have to make it feel good for them when they're there. So work on that as well. And also have a code of conduct that you enforce. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate all of you sharing your experiences and expertise, and I appreciate you all being here with us today. Thank you.